Hey guys, this is Keenan Fry and you're watching the Acid Drip. So this is sort of a new project idea. I'm just going to kind of adjust this camera, but you see this guy right here, this is a document camera, and a lot of high school teachers use it to basically when they're grading tests, they use the document camera to throw the paper onto the projector. It's basically a replacement for an overhead projector. So what we're going to do is try out a drawing video. Prior to this, I could never really record myself drawing. So what you see here is actually, this is a poster project I've been working on since 2011. And we're going to kind of just jump into it. But this project has been sitting on the shelf for a very, very long time. And I'm now just getting to the point where I can work on it a bit. I'm going to kind of adjust my workspace. Again, this is all kind of like a pilot system. I'm not really used to doing this. We'll see how it kind of goes. But basically what I'm going to try and do is see if I can, from now on, record all of my drawing sessions and then hyperlapse them. So yeah. With the introduction out of the way, I'm just going to kind of dive into the drawing portion of this. So real quick, I'll show you what I'm listening to. Let me see if I can top display capture. I'm going to turn off the document camera. Okay, so I am watching Immortal Nor, the 7th Day of Black Shear, live at Wacken Open Air 2007. This is a great live concert. Hang on a second. It's just going to go off in a second. Here it goes. Look at that, man. This right here reminds me of, sorry, this is just a side tangent real quick. This is No Sleep Till Hammersmith. It's probably like the greatest live album ever produced. And like when I look at the 7th Day of Black Shear, it's just like the same thing, just bright lights, two little silhouettes. And that's exactly what this is, bright lights and two little silhouettes and the drummer like way in the back. Abbott. Just sheer chaos. Immortal. We are immortal! What the fuck are you doing so far, motherfuckers? That's a great line. What's that? God, I love Abbott. Oh my God, I love Abbott. God, I love this guy. He's so funny. And like not in a hysterical way, just he's just so crazy badass. God, I love him so much. Wacken open air. Oh, this part's cool. Hang on. Hang on. Where is it? Yeah! Abbott with the torch! That's so badass. I bloody love it. Ah. And then he spits into it right here. Check this out. This is why I love black metal. It's just so theatrical. Oh, that's so cool. See, this is why you gotta watch Abbott. All right, let's get back to the document camera. So right now I'm kind of doing the hardest part, which is tracing these lines and making sure that the continuity here is accurate. This is literally the hardest part of the drawing right now, are these little guys right here. Yeah, in fact, here it is. I remember this part. I really struggled drawing this part when I was initially doing this. I remember how difficult just rendering this section right here was. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I'll have to adjust my positioning, but right now I'm kind of just focused on getting this part down. Christ, that was one of the hardest sections to do, and I just nailed it. In fact, not only did I nail it, I actually added a teeny bit of detail to it. I actually nailed it and improved upon it. So I'm going to finish this kind of tie-in section, and then I'm going to go jump in the shower and check my email. Anyway, I love listening to some good old black metal. It's very like refreshing every once in a while. Too much of it and it gets a little bit bludgeoning, becomes a little bit too bludgeoning, but just enough of it and it's really like motivating. It's kind of like evil power metal is basically what it is. It's just super motivating to listen to. Like, just imagine the most stimulating workout music you could possibly listen to, and then you're trying to sit still and really finely render while listening to it, and that's basically what I'm doing right now. Okay, this passage is also very fucked up. Okay. Yeah, these lines are really difficult. I gotta get these lines done. If I can get these lines done while I have like the mental focus to do it and get them right, then later on when I come back to this, I won't get confused as to where it is I left off. It's really easy for that part to confuse you. Like, you know, where was I when I was last working on this, you know? That part can really mess you up. So it's really important that you stay incredibly focused so you can do really difficult things like that. Sometimes it's worth staying up a few extra minutes just to render those parts and just kind of connect the dots so that when you leave off, things are kind of like neat and clean, and you can very easily pick up the section you left off at. But in order to do that, you really have to be bloody steady. You also have to know when to quit, and I'm getting really close to that point. I'm getting really close to the point of needing to quit and just like take a break. And by really close, I mean, I think I'm there. I think that's it for now. Okay, let's take a look at what I've got done. Take the gloves off. The gloves are on so that I don't sweat onto the paper. So from a blank sheet of paper to all of this, I have the upper part of the crown completed in the snake. I've completed the facial profile. Whether you can see it or not, I'm not sure. This ear section, which is incredibly intricate, is complete. And that was all done in about the span of 2 hours and 16 minutes. So I think I can finish the rest of this in probably one more drawing session, like this whole crown section, and connect this crown section to the face, to the ear. And then after that, I have to kind of outline down here. So I have a really rough template that I'm working from. You can see how much is actually completed. Let's see if I can just kind of lift this guy up so you can see better what we're talking about. go. So that's kind of like an idea of it. So obviously it's going to cause warp if I hold it at an angle. So this area up here is all outlined, but this eye is not outlined. I need to ink that. And then this section down here, you can kind of see pencil marks, but it's not inked. This section right here needs to get inked. So like there needs to be more work done on this draft before I can finish the other one. But this draft is kind of informing how that one forms. So what I need to do is kind of work on them in tandem, because this draft is going to help me figure out what I need to do here, because this is very ambiguous and needs to be very much concretely decided upon, like what's happening down here. But in order to figure this out, I have to move this back end of the crown up to here. See, this is totally out of whack, and you can kind of see how I made a bunch of notes. They're upside down because I was drawing on this page upside down. But this has to move to here, and this all has to get figured out. And then once this is in place and everything in this upper 2/3 is in place, then just this next section has to kind of be figured out. And this right here is going to become a conch shell. But I think instead of using the thicker outer circle, I'm going to use the thinner inner circle because I like the roundness of it more. This is too exaggerated and cartoony. I want it to be like a dominant element, but I don't want it to be a dominating element, if you know what I mean. Like a dominant element is something that's like predominantly featured, but a dominating element is one that kind of subtracts from all the other features in the artwork because it's kind of like too intense and subtracts from the audience's attention to the other parts. Like a dominating feature subtracts attention from the balance of the piece, whereas a dominant feature is like one of the many landmarks in the piece that the eye wants to bounce to and move through the piece. And when you don't have balanced dominant features and you have a dominating feature, the piece feels like it's tipping like a wobbly table. It won't lay flat. And what I mean by lay flat means like the eye won't have a flat affect as it scans across the piece. Instead, it'll just kind of zoom in on one thing and only look at that thing, and it'll be very difficult for the eye to naturally want to branch off from looking at that feature to the next. So you kind of have to design different sort of dominant features to counterpoint, you know, various other portions of the piece so that the eye moves around naturally, which is kind of what I'm trying to build into this. So I think I can have everything drawn basically by the end of March, like everything 100% inked, 100% outlined and inked. And then this is the scratch paper. This is the demo paper. This isn't actually the final paper. So this draft over here is the second to last draft, hopefully the second to last draft. And what needs to happen is once this is finalized and then transferred over to here correctly and accurately, and I have to do a lot of work on this. So I'm going to draw this piece on a separate sheet of paper and insert it. So this whole thing is going to get drawn. This I'm actually going to draw in the computer. I'm going to use my Adobe Illustrator to kind of figure that out. And I'm going to make a Fibonacci sequence and make this into a literal conch shell with all of the subcutaneous chambers that spiral very nicely. And then once that's all said and done, making that in Illustrator with like the ruler tool and the spiral tool in Vector Scribe, which is the plugin I use for Illustrator to help me do those like really crazy mathematical computational geometric designs. What I'm going to do is print it out to scale to fit this. So I made notes right here. So like use a 2.5 diameter shell, which is kind of the bigger version, but I think I'm going to use the smaller version, which is like 1.75 or something like that. So I'm going to do a smaller diameter shell here, but I'm going to kind of make this part into the conch spiral. And then the chin strap, which is one of the ancient Egyptian signs of office for the pharaoh, is going to kind of be this extended conch shell with a Fibonacci sequence running through it, which is kind of trippy, but it's all about like that sacred geometry and stuff, and that's what a lot of my line work is about, is getting like those really unique shapes to kind of coalesce in a very abstract way. So anyway, that's kind of where this is at right now. It's definitely getting to the final stages of drafting. This is like probably 80% there in terms of outlining. In terms of the actual artistic process, I'd say I'm a little bit over 1/3 of the way there, because once everything is drafted and done, that's like 50%. The other 50% is painting. Well, actually, once everything is drafted and done, that's like 45%. Painting is like another 45%. That brings you to 90%. And the last 10% is like setting up the design file and sending it to print. So anyway, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to make a long form one where you can hear my comments and see me rocking out to Immortal, and then I'm going to make a short form of this where it's just hyperlapse. I'm Keenan Fry. This is the acid drip, and thanks for watching.